Tonight, we are glad to have our Jim Porter, very own Jim Porter, back. Jim, if you could come off mute and say hello to everyone. You've been
Hello.
in our thoughts. I'm glad to have you. We have Ken Pearson here with us. Ken, he's working on it, and we have Karen Elkins. And so before we get into this particular lesson here today, why don't we just take a moment and we're going to turn on our ocean sounds. We pause for just a moment at the beginning. Want to say a gracious hello to everyone that's joining us. But let's go ahead and begin and just center ourselves here in the ocean sounds and tie ourselves into that universal heartbeat. Good. You can keep your eyes open. You can keep your eyes closed, whatever you'd like. We'll turn on the ocean sounds and have it, we hope. If not, then just simply in your mind's eye, see the ocean waves going back and forth, reminding you there on the screen of the universal heartbeat. Take just a moment to pause deeply, centering yourself here in this moment. Inviting in anything that you need here for today. Drinking in the peace of the universal heartbeat that you see right here, the gorgeous sunset. And may you tune in to whatever is supposed to be unveiled here for you this evening. When you're ready, please join us back in. So hello, Karen. Hello, Dee. Hello, Rita. Hello, Deb. So glad to have you all back here. So as we begin here, Jim, last week we did a tribute to Jackie, and it was such a pointed time for lesson 25. And tonight we're going into lesson 26. Anything that you want to comment as we go into lesson 26?
Well, I didn't get to study it in the depth that I had hoped to today, but I did go through it, and it is a really good lesson. We're going to have the opportunity to really get into depth about it, and that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, that sounds good. Ken, are you with us?
Yes, I'm right here.
All right, so we figured out our sound issue. You know, that's the joy of the technology, but the good news is that we get to connect with each other. So why don't we go ahead and dive into lesson 26. For those of you that are new joining us tonight, we want to say welcome. This is part of a year-long effort to go over the home study course as written by Walter and Leo Russell, and they wrote 12 units. Each week there is a lesson, and today we are on lesson 26 in unit 7, which is a big deal. So I'm going to ask Ken if he would to read that first sentence that's circled and that first section there on that page.
The fact that our physical bodies are but moving extensions of our spiritual selves has but begun to enter human consciousness. All bodies are wave recordings of mind thoughts. All matter is therefore pure thought, for each particle of it conveys a meaning of its identity and purpose. Matter symbolizes one idea divided into trillions of ideas, all of which convey a meaning to observers proportioned by their varying intelligence. Now
what would you like to comment? That was a powerful opening.
Yep, that's it. What it's going to do now, this lesson is going to teach us is that the power of anything is always in the idea, and the idea never leaves the one still mind of all idea. We just borrow it, like we talked about last week with the rubber band. It's a borrowed energy that must return back to whence it came. This is going to exemplify how much our minds control our bodies, and we're going to use illustrations like a negative thought versus a positive thought, how much one burst of anger can ruin your day, and also on the converse side of that, how one kind thought of loving thought without wordlessly to somebody in your mind, how that can polarize your whole body into a positive generative cycle and make you feel good about who you are, where you're at in the world you're in. This also is going to talk about how we put love, and that's the magic energy to achieve any achievement, whether you're cleaning the kitchen floor or you're creating a new masterpiece. It's the same principle of putting love into everything we do. We can't
Well,
just selectively think, I'm going to put love here and not there, because we're only cheating ourselves. Also, we're going to really learn about the fact that we are the sum total of all of our thoughts.
before we jump into all of that, though, I wanted to encourage everyone who's listening to type in the chat box right quick. All matter is pure thought. All matter is pure thought. I thought that was a very powerful phrase that's right here at the beginning. All matter is pure thought. And to be honest with you, that's a really new concept for someone who has never heard of this particular work before. Jim?
You want me to expand on that?
Just a comment. I mean, it's pretty new to anyone who's never heard this before.
It's new to humanity, and it's a huge step. I've been trying to walk that path for 50 years, and I often find myself slipping back down the hill. But I have reached a point where I know the difference between, I know that I am mind. We were talking to that prior to the show. I have no question that I am mind and not body. And I'm beginning to more clearly see those moments when I'm responding to body. If I find myself looking outside at anything or for anything, I know I'm responding as body. Clarity
Okay.
comes in.
All right. Thanks to everybody who commented on that. Karen?
I just like the idea that when we talk about things, it's fundamental and elemental. So even all the elements are mental, of which and how we move. So it is mind over matter. And without it, we've missed how powerful our words really are.
Okay, so let's continue the conversation, because I love the headline on the next page, page 512. What the title says, it says, knowledge makes you master instead of servant of matter. Let's just pause on that for a moment, because before I even go into the paragraph, knowledge makes you a master instead of a servant of matter. So can we all pause for a moment there? Because anytime that there's a phrase that really resonates with you, I invite everyone who's watching here this evening to go ahead and type that into the chat box. But if we would, Jim, if you'll go ahead and unread that first paragraph right quick, and then we're going to skip down to the bottom of the page.
The above paragraph repeated here because it is difficult to fully comprehend the oft-repeated statement that God is all. While an infinitely extended universe of suns, stars, nebulae illumines the heavens by the countless millions, and all about you, countless millions of bodies of substantial matter, which you can weigh and feel and see with your own eyes, confront with your own indisputable evidence of their reality. All of our lives, for countless generations, we have been confronted with moving bodies and moving forces. Heat burns us. Wind blows forcibly against our resisting bodies. We have pains, aches, hungers, and fears of illnesses, of our bodies and of the bodies of our families and friends. Tempests come.
Let me go ahead and jump down, Jim, because I wanted to go ahead and skip down to the paragraph. It says, in the very spot where I have it starred, in the very face of all that we see and feel, how can we say God is all, or God is love, or I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul, when we feel ourselves to be the helpless victims of matter and motion environment, which so relentlessly swirls us about in its whirlpools? Now, I had to chuckle because I was thinking about anytime that anybody ever feel like they're in a whirlpool of the world. Let's just pause for just a moment here, because I know I'm not the only one who feels like you're being sucked into a whirlpool. Let's see what Deborah has to say right quick before we go on to the next paragraph. Deborah says this, Karen, if you'll share what Deborah says.
Yes, it only makes us a master if we that acknowledge for the heights where the height is good.
Okay, thank you. And Linda is chiming in. Knowledge makes you master instead of a servant of matter. Okay, I love this, having people chime in. And Ken, I'm going to just mention a couple of things out of this last paragraph. I wanted to ask you a comment. Is it any wonder that people who are servants of matter, motion, and environment feel that the universe of matter and motion is reality, and that things of the spirit are something to be hoped for but are not dependable, not real? Wherefore we say to you, this is Walter and Leo Russell, Wherefore we say to you that you are the self-bound servant of matter, so long as you are self-bound. And furthermore, we say to you that you are freed from the bondage only when you free yourself from your own senses. Ken? You're on mute.
Thank you. What they're helping me to understand here is that, I can free myself from the bondage of my senses, but I must know what my senses are. And the senses that we're talking about are not just as science would deem as five senses, those are just motion. But the senses to me are the primary instincts. If I'm not aware of my sex, security, and society, primal senses, and how they affect me or operate, then they drive my body, and my body just wants to get satisfied from that. To rise above that body sensing, I got to enter into the mind, to music, into arts. Those are the things that remove the body, set it on its shelf, and allow the mind to fully absorb beauty and love. So I had to learn that, right? For the sum total of all of our thoughts, then our thought life becomes very important. And that's what we're talking about now. To become free, I've got to become, instead of subjected to my thoughts, I need to be objective at times and realize, my mind just went in the gutter. I'm thinking and worrying about the bills. I'm worrying about everything. I'm stressed out. I'm getting moody. Well, my body has taken back over. My senses are now demanding satisfaction, which is insatiable. So to rise above that, I got to learn to be dependent. And the freedom is to become one with our Creator. We do this by desire. In this moment, I ask God to be with me on this podcast, to help me hear what I need to hear, say what God would have me say. It's a constant communion, and it's a building process to have that consistent communion.
Yes. All right. So I love that. And I also really enjoy what Deborah put in the chat box. I love this. I thought it was a neat analogy. And Deborah says this: spirit shows us how to be the steamliner instead of a tugboat in the middle of the ocean. How is that for a visual?
Yes,
I love that. And so as we go to the top of page 513, this continues what Ken was just talking about. Just as long as your senses, this is what's highlighted in the circle in yellow, just as long as your senses dominate your actions, the world of matter and motion is your master, and you are its unwilling, unhappy slave. Why is this so? It's because your senses are the same wave vibrations that your bodies are. Again, we repeat that your body and your senses are but motion. How can motion be you? So can you give me a short understanding of that issue around the fact that your body and your senses are but motion? Let me go to Jim, and then let me go to Ken, and then Karen, I'm going to have you help me out with the next paragraph that's got it highlighted in green. What does it mean, your body and your senses are but motion, Jim?
Well, what it means to me is I've always looked at the example that was set by the master teacher and incredible being, Christ, Jesus. When he would say, in my world, when he would say, "Get thee behind me, Satan," I think he was talking directly to body and body sensing. When something would come up either in the bodies or the sensing of other people and be thrown his way, or in his own mind, he would put it in its place. But he never said, "Get thee away from me." He always said, "Get thee behind me," because the vehicle is needed to do what we are here to do. And so we don't want to negate the vehicle, but we don't want it to lead our actions.
Okay. Ken?
And the question is, what the senses? I'm sorry.
What does it mean when it says your body and your senses are but motion?
Well, it's an illusion, right? What we're learning in this paradigm is we're learning that all motion is an illusion. It's temporary. It's either coming or going. Only thing that permanent qualities are things you can know, which you're going to learn about: love, rhythm, truth, balance. Those are all qualities you can know, but you cannot see. I can see Jim and Karen and my love's body, but I don't know how your left arm's feeling or right arm's feeling, if your foot aches, your back aches. So there's endless effects in that body. So, but I don't know that. You could tell me that. I still don't know it unless it's my body. And then again, it's another illusion because my body is but moving motion. And the thing that is still is our minds, is the one still mind of our Creator. That stillness. Remember, all sound comes from silence, and all motion comes from stillness. So the power is not in motion and it's not in sound, because it all returns back to stillness and silence. So the power is in silence and in stillness. That's where everything's generated from, and that's where the wholeness exists.
All right. Before I have Karen speak, I'd like to encourage everybody to put in the chat box, all motion comes from stillness. I thought that was very powerful. Karen.
So if you come from that one point of light, like when we look at the prism, it comes from a one still point, and then it comes out as a band. But in that, you think of you put your hand in front of a projector, you can see the colors and you can see the waves.
Right.
So we're nothing but those waves. And what moves those waves and what we witness is those particles. And so the only thing that's moving where we either put our attention or not put our attention, the still part is going back to the white light of stillness. But what we're doing out here is actually creating the waves. Does that make sense?
It makes 100% sense. And I want to share a moment that I had, a very powerful moment years ago. I went to a production and I happened to be so high up in the stadium when I was at this like internal show, that I saw the lights, the lights that come from the very powerful projectors when you're at like a Broadway play. Well, and when I saw the lights come down for the first time, being that I was that high, I could see all of the particles that were within the light. And for the first time, it showed me that when you watch a spotlight go all the way across, you can almost see all of the particles, and the particles are just there existing. It's the light that was moving. So it was just, I never forgot this moment of realizing that all motion comes from that stillness, and it was the light that made it look like it was moving. Does that make sense to you all?
Yep.
So, Ken, you were talking about, if you could share with us the paragraph. I have it highlighted in green on page 513. It says, complete freedom comes only when you've actually come to know love.
Okay, you want me to read the paragraph or just
that paragraph, please?
When you actually know what love is, you will not only know that God is love, but that you are love. When that day comes, you can then say, as Jesus said, and with as much authority, I and my Father are one. When that glorious day does come, you will find the kingdom of heaven, for that is what Jesus meant when he said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. And that is within, right? The kingdom of heaven. If you have a child, a dog, or an animal, and you look at that animal or child, and you just have that state of unconditional love, you're not seeking to get something. You're going to pet the dog or the cat or hug the child, right? You're not asking for something, and that's where that ecstatic state of love is. And when you're loving like that, you and God are one. You're one with God. When you're expressing love, that is your oneness. That is the key to oneness. That's why. It doesn't mean we're going to love every chore we do, but it does mean we can put love into every chore we do. We can't do it begrudgingly, and we can't do it in compliance. We must do everything we can wholeheartedly.
And Kimberly, if we're all coming from light and we're all part of that light spectrum, then it's all one. So it's all one. So it's all light. And so we're all pieces of those particles. If we're all made of liquid, solids, and gases, or earth, fire, air, water, it's the same thing. And everything is composed of exactly the same thing. So we've all come from the one. So the more we can love it up, the better.
The more we can love it up. There you go. There's a t-shirt for you, Karen. All right. So page 514 is a very powerful page. I want to set this up for the panel here, because it says this. It says energy. I'm going to scroll down to page 514. A lot of really good stuff. Energy is in mind, not in matter. Okay. And as it's talking about the second sentence where I've bracketed it in green, desire is in the soul seed of all things. So let's pause for a moment, and I want to encourage everyone to type that in. Desire is in the soul seed of all things. Desire of the creator, notice the capitalizing of creator, divided the universe into pairs of opposite conditions, which pump bodies into the appearance of existence motivated by desire, So let's pause for a minute. And Ken and Jim, if you both could chime in, talk to us a little bit about the power of this word desire, according to the Russells.
Well, for me, it is, it's understanding. We've all had those times when we just can't motivate ourselves, our body selves, to get up and do something due to lack of desire. because when you desire to do something, you move, you go. It's automatic. There's no stress or strain to it. So that's the difference for me. My body every day from the time I was a baby, in first memories until now, wants to lay down and not move. It's me that makes it go. My divine self. It's not the body that makes itself go. And we need to grasp the understanding that we are creating our destiny. We are telling this vehicle what to do, where to go, and how to get there. And if we feed it negativity and feed it bad food and bad thoughts, it slows it down, it slugs around, and it's just like not putting proper fuel and oil in your vehicle. Just take care of yourself, clear your mind, and what this man down there in the blue shirt says, every moment of every day, negate negative thoughts.
All right. So I have a thought. I have a story about desire, but Ken, what do you want to say about the word desire before we continue?
Well, desire is the gravity force that controls all of our lives, whether you like it or not. Well, you got something bad, you've desired it in. If you got something good, you desired it in. If you want something in your life, desire it, and it'll stand before thee. Desire what you will, and it will stand before thee. That is, in fact, how our lives are built, for better or worse. And if you know what I mean, the universe doesn't differentiate of what's good or bad, because the universe doesn't know good or bad. Desire is the force. And your desire is represented by the thoughts that you harness throughout the day. At 70,000 thoughts a day, which is what the average human being has, not many of us are going to track that many thoughts. So my desire is to be aware of imbalanced thinking so I can void it rather than negate it. I cannot negate what's already happened. I can void it by countering it like a negative thought with a positive thought. And so in terms of that, my desire is to have good thoughts, and I know I've had good thoughts because I feel good. Thus emotions are that register to let me know how many of those 70,000 thoughts are hurting me or not hurting me. Right now, you can measure your own barometer. How do you feel right now in this moment? And if you feel blah, then you've had probably blah thoughts. If you feel good, then you've desired good thoughts and they're manifesting. If you don't feel good and you're low energy, probability is you've had some negative rhythms and negative energy that have come around, and they're now recorded in your body and in your countenance.
All right, Jim, what were you showing us?
Yeah, what were
I
you
was showing you, it was showing you Your Day and Night by Dr. Russell. It's out of the Divine Iliad.
Yes.
But in it, he states that because of his positive, constructive thinking, he states, should I rend the day, I will build 10 times 10,000 new days to undo the rending. That's the mindset you hold. Don't focus on where you went wrong, how you're going to go on and make it right.
All right, Karen, you had a thought, and then I'm going to ask Ken to do something.
I had a thought, and I was just thinking of the physical heart. And the beautiful thing about the physical heart, it has two sides, and it pumps. It's got the red side and the blue side, and it literally pumps. And in it, I'm going to say for myself, because I've had heart issues in the past. When I've had issues, it's because something has really been bothering me. And so it's actually a physical sensation of things that have worked or not worked, but it actually works. And it's like a drop, and in it is every piece of the symphony of color that Walter Russell, and every piece of the periodic table in every drop. And in that, you can see that cascading element of needing to stay as positive as you can, because you're cascading all of that through your body all the time.
I think that's fascinating, Karen. I've never really thought about the fact that the heart is red and blue, and here it is, lines right up with the science. So Ken, I know you are recovering from hip surgery. Do you feel good enough to share the salutations of the day with our audience and give them a gift here today?
Sure.
All right. So before he does this, because any of you that are new students, this is, so what is the salutation of the day, Jim, before I have Ken do this?
It's the way I understand it, it's a written text that Dr. Russell would quote each night before he went to sleep and each morning when he awoke to lay out the day, or maybe see in its entirety. I wasn't there, so I can't say, but it is something that he lived by all of his life. And that was to set the day, to set the mentality or the motion into motion for the day. Positive thinking and doing loving work, pouring loving work into all that he did. And that's I've read it and had it open. I mean, it's literally, so I just reached over and grabbed it. It's always beside me.
Well, and it's very powerful. And so this was one of the things that Ken really stunned the group of students that were here at the museum the first week that they met him, is that he actually recites this by heart every single day. And I myself have heard him. And it's actually one of the special things that I love for him to recite. So can we have you, for anyone else just listening, while that's not in this lesson, since the salutations of the day came up, let's have you share it with everybody, have them drink it in, and then if you would describe to the group before we take our first break why you ended up training yourself to actually recite this prayer. But for right now, he is not reading it. It is all from memory.
As the dawn telleth the coming of the new day, I purge myself in the beauty of the dawn. My soul quickeneth with the telling of the coming of the new day. This day will be of my making, whether I choose to live in spirit or flesh, on the mountaintop or earthbound. My yesterday is what I made it. Perfect or imperfect, I see it in memory only. My today is what I will to make it. I will to make it perfect. I have the power to build the day or rend the day. If I rend the day, I create mayhap 10 times 10 to undo the rending. If I build the day, I will have lived the day in the fulfillment of the one purpose, which is God's one purpose for me to fulfill. So I may meet the day with knowledge. These are the words with which I greet the day. This is the spirit of the dawn. To me, the universe is an open book. I need not learn, I shall know. I shall see the unseen from the mountaintops, and I shall hear the music of the spheres. I shall know the transcendental joy of creation. I shall know immortality. I shall bestow immortality. I shall have the power to give immortality. To anyone who would ask, would I reach my hand into the darkness and pull them into the light. I shall keep my body charged for that purpose, which is my purpose to fulfill. The dynamic power of the universe shall be behind my thinking. Power shall be mine to give by the wayside. I shall not deny to any man that which is mine to give. I should stand on the electrodes of the universe and command that which is universal. None shall stay my hand from the building of this day. I shall not haste the day, nor shall I waste the day, nor shall I pay any heed to the tomorrow. All things that I shall do today, I shall desire to do. My power shall be in knowing. My power shall be in thinking true. My power shall be in humility. The taint of arrogance I shall not know. That which is I shall I keep within the shadow of the beautiful temple of modesty. But if that which I were to do were worthy, I send forth my doings so they would become true. Problems shall be as chaff before the wind. If perchance the day shall have me anything bitter, it shall become sweet as I bring it to my lips. Truth will guide my footsteps through tortuous paths. From all that is unlovely shall my eyes be immune. I shall desire to see the beauty in all things. I shall meet in patience with patience, unkindness with kindness. Force shall I meet with gentleness. My countenance shall reflect the spirit within me, so others can hearken to my song as I sing the day through with the glad song into the golden evening. As I cross the threshold of this day, I cross it with joy and thanksgiving, wanting nothing of that else but that light centering my mind.
My goodness. What a gift. What a gift. And before we go to break, Ken, why you
Would you like me to break it down now? Because if we got about
No,
3
no, no,
hours,
no,
I have to break it all down.
we could do a whole session on that, but for right now, before we go to break, why did you train yourself all those decades ago to say that salutation of the day every day?
You know, just desire to have that kind of set, that premise as Jim was talking about, first thing in the morning. And within those words, you could just take one of those statements, like Jim said, if I rend the day, I create mayhap 10 times 10 to undo the rending, and just contemplate what that means. That means if I do something belligerently wrong, it takes 10 times 10 to undo that wrong. But if I build the day, I will live the day in the fulfillment of the one purpose that we all have, which is the same purpose, which is to manifest our Creator, God, in all that we do. So the building of the day is just to build the day with God. So there's so much there that to me it sets in mode. It starts my meditation and allows me to go from there to, like if I have a client, I'm working with someone, reaching my hand into the darkness and pulling them into the light is a principle that will really resonate, that will actually give me insights about that individual or that client and what I might give them just by that. Okay, my client will be the one that I'm reaching my hand in the darkness and pulling them into the light. There's just so much there, so I feed off of it.
Okay.
And the reason to do it is because these readings, after you read them so many times, you start to realize I know this, and it didn't take me very long to commit that to memory, and then it goes past memory as you. It's not just a parodying; it's contemplated. Break it down as you say it, and that's
Okay.
why it can really extend into a deep meditation.
Thank you for that very, very beautiful gift. It is time for our first break for our panel. We're going to return to page 515 in lesson 26 when we return. Enjoy your 3-minute break. See you in just a few. You're down to the last few seconds. If you're within earshot, please find your way back. Please find your way back. And so I'd like to actually pull up Deb Tonkin's comment before I ask James to chime in. And so Deb says this. She says, desire what you will and it will stand before you. Powerful. So she was pulling from something that Ken said. And I want to just ask you, I know you all know that James is behind the scene, but James, if you would come off mute for just a moment and respond to what you just heard Ken do, because that was very interesting to you.
Oh yes, it was great. I really believe how you start your day is so important. I notice usually if I start my day by looking at my phone or doing something where I'm reacting to the day, the rest of the day I'm just in that reaction mode. So starting the day with something powerful like that, and then knowing it by heart, like really not just reciting it as if it's words, you can tell Ken feels those things when he's saying it. I think that's a practice that everyone could find value in. So I'm going to take that and probably post it so everybody can see it. And also, Ken, where is that from? Like which book is it from?
It's as Jim had pointed out, there's a book called Salutation of the Day and Invocation of the Night. It's a separate pamphlet. It's
Okay.
It's also in the Divine Iliad.
Yeah,
we'll give you the link for the book. Jim, if you'll hold up that book one more time so we can spotlight that for everyone. It's one of the little booklets that you can order online at philosophy.org. He'll hold it up there. It says Your Day and Night. So there you go. That's one of those one of the many little booklets. And Jim, turn it to the side so they can see how tiny it is. This is something you can stick in your car. You can stick in your pocket. You can stick in your purse, your briefcase, and they've done a really nice job of making sure that we all have access to those kinds of things and continue that learning. And I know for me, it's very, very powerful when I hear Ken refer to that. So I wanted to jump us over here to 5:15, and then I'm going to quickly go to 5:16. But there's a highlighted.
Can I just add one thing in on that? What James was saying as a quick note that might be a little easier than reciting Salutation of the Day is when you get up in the morning, say Good morning, God. That's the first thing I do. My first thought is Good morning, God. Even when I go tinkle at night, it's again connecting to God while I'm tinkling. There's no separation. So for me, it was really important what James said. If I get up and grab that phone, which is 95% of people do, first thing in the morning is they grab their phone. First thing in the morning, it's really easy to just say, Good morning, God. That's it.
I've done a similar practice. What I've done for many years now, decades, is I will walk through my bedroom door at night. And as I do, it's just automatic now. I literally hand everything to Creator and have the thought in my mind, God, you can hold this for me till morning. I will dance with you throughout the night, and I will pick it up in the morning. And it just cleans me out and puts me at peace, and I go right out. Boom.
I was really good. I actually ordered the sets.
I love it, Karen. Look at you.
For $11 for half of these was $11 a piece. And you know what? You get all of these books. It's amazing. I mean, look at this. That's a stack of books that you get. Wait, this one.
Okay, and you got both of those sets for $11 each for a total of $22. They can have all of those and dive deeper. So anyone who who hasn't yet had a chance to have a home study course, they can dive into these books and continue to learn and on their journey.
Yeah, they're
Karen,
amazing.
you look very happy with your collection of books.
I do. I love these little guys. They're like the concentration of a little, they're amazing. So yeah, I just had to show that.
I love that. On 5:15, I wanted to pull out the highlighted sentence, and it says this feeling of unlimited power. So if everyone would please type in the chat box, unlimited power. This feeling of unlimited power should be your normal state of mind, together with inner joyousness. So let's just think for a moment about how powerful that phrase is. Unlimited power, inner joyousness. And so I wanted to encourage people to type that in there. Remember those phrases, because what I have found personally in my work with people is that they really do shy away from this word of power when it's something that humanity, I think, because we've abused it in the past, Jim, when we talk about what people have done with power in the past. But when you understand unlimited power through the lens of this light and the love that we're talking about, unlimited power and inner joyousness was incredible. And it says, as they were talking about, you should always come out of your meditations with that sense of tremendous power, the glory of self-expression, and a sense of supremacy over all material things. So let's jump into the next page, Ken. And I highlighted a huge paragraph on page 516. There's so much good stuff here. I'm going to keep us moving. Can you
Kim,
share?
can I jump in real briefly for 1 second? That statement and a sense of supremacy over all physical things. When you carry that in your mind, you have ceased to be body. You are superior to it. You are a creator of it, and you're a co-creator of this entire universe. And when you start to walk around with that sense of supremacy, things that would stop you in your tracks before just melt away. I'm going through a tremendous loss in my life right now, but I lost the body presence of someone I love dearly, and my body feels it, but my body's not going to dictate my life. I will direct it.
Love that. And I love that everyone's typing these things in. Good to see you, Terry. Good to see you, Margaret. Good to see you, Bonnie. So Ken, if you would share with us that very important paragraph, or those two paragraphs there on page 516, please.
Okay.
Any machine.
Yeah, I got that tag. Good job, little mama. Good stuff there. All right. Any machine that man may make, which would lift 50 tons, would need at least 1,000 pounds of fuel. A man's body is a machine made for performing work, just as a man-made machine is. Why is it that one machine needs 1,000 pounds of fuel converted to heat to lift 50 tons, while the human machine lifts 50 tons without needing any fuel at all? Yeah. You want me to read both of them together?
Please.
The answer is that the human machine, or that of the elephant or bull, is centered by mind desire, which is the source of all power. Man expresses power through desire to express power, even though he is not aware of the source of his power. A mechanical machine has no mental motivating source of power, so power is extended to it from a generator, which consumes a tremendous amount of fuel for every ton lifted. And that is a great thing to contemplate, right? How can my body or an elephant can live, 200 tons of work in a day on a couple bales of hay, which is going to be in the next paragraph. But the bottom line is, think about it. You eat a turkey sandwich and have a drink and all, and you can work all day long doing construction or doing heavy work or even doing work around the house or whatever it is. And you got to wonder, how does that little amount of fuel allow me to do this kind of put out this kind of energy? It's mind energy, because it's about your mind. Just like if you work in an angrily mode, you're probably going to get frustrated. You won't do it right and it won't come together. But again, if you work with love, you won't not only be able to do more, you won't fatigue. And that is the beauty of learning the art of creating, is what is helping me to understand is that I hurt my back with my mind. That to me is just how much, and we do that. People do that. Men, women, all of us hurt ourselves with our own mind because we can overpower our body with our minds. So it's helping us to illustrate how, in fact, the body has no power. It's all centered in the mind.
So two things I'd like to add to that, because you don't have to pull it up, but I want to just read to the audience. It says after that, the machine made by man needs the power given by matter, while the will of man is that power. His heartbeat is connected with the universal heartbeat. So I want to encourage everyone to write down, my heartbeat is connected to the universal heartbeat. My heartbeat is connected to the universal heartbeat. And I bring this up because that's part of why we bring that up in the meditation at the very beginning. And then I skipped down to the bottom of page 516 here, and I wrote the words wow beside it, but I'm just going to share it with the audience there. It says, you are the universal power current, and your power is limitless when you know it is limitless.
That's the key. When you know. That's such a, and the last statement you said, it was funny. It was the one thing that I felt that we got to emphasize is, remember the proviso, when you know. All right. And how do you know? In the moment you're in right now, you have the opportunity, equal opportunity to be with God right here, right now, by just desiring to be one with God. And thus you are one with God right now. And you can only do this right now. But yes, that is a big wow.
So I want to just to jump back for a moment. If we go back to the highlighted section, you'll see I put it in blue, that of the elephant or the bull. So I want to make a note here, because in the home study course, it does in fact talk about the answer of the human machine or that of elephant or bull. So part of what impressed me about the Walter Russell work is it does talk about the living, breathing bodies of that also has mind desire. That's important because I want to go into page 517. And I know you will love this particular sentence, and then I'll ask Jim to comment as well. If you could read what I circled there in green.
Again, we say man is omnipotent when he knows his omnipotence. That's kind of what we were talking about earlier, is how do I feel the sense of capability of doing whatever it is I desire to do, is that I have become one with my creator. And that's where the omnis come in, right? We talk about it all the time: omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. And I believe we build in that order form. That isn't necessarily something that anybody says. It's just something I've learned in life. And so omnipotence is something that we're granted when we put omnipresence and omniscience are so combined, there is a sense of omnipotence. Omnipotence, remember, means the ability, it doesn't mean you're all power. It's the ability to know all things that are in the universe we live in. It doesn't mean you have all power. It means you have access to knowledge of how to utilize all the things that we can resource in this universe. We call them the elements of matter. Therefore, construct life, matter, et cetera, et cetera.
Jim?
Yeah, I am fully capable of manifesting anything. I am not mentally disciplined enough to do that yet, but I know I am capable of it. I know my omnipresence and omnipotence is present. It's like, find the words. I'll give you a quick example. Years and years ago, back in the 70s, early 70s, I was going down the road and a car in front of us, which was a great big Thunderbird convertible, the big cars back in those days, missed a turn, flipped over and landed on its with its top facing down. Myself and multiple other people stopped. There came a point where about 8 of us, men, decided we were going to turn this car over. Now, this is a nearly 5,000-pound car. We grabbed it, lifted it up, and turned it over. Now, there's no way when you divide that weight among those 8 men, we should be able to do that. But our desire to save the life of the person under that car was what gave us the ability to do it.
Right. Well, I wanted to go into that next paragraph as well, because this really struck me based on a question that we had just the other week. It says, as a last example for your meditation, we would like you to consider the tremendous energy expressed in the vegetable kingdom by the desire of the forest to lift its thousands of tons up above the earth. And the soul seed of the forest is the mighty desire of its creator's mind. Creator's mind is capitalized to manifest its power. Every seed of the forest is centered by that soul desire, soul being capitalized, or soul will to unfold the pattern of its idea. Desire in the seed is willpower current, and the seed expressing its desire by dividing light to form its body. So as I read this, it really struck me. We were asked the other day whether the earth had consciousness. That's a debate for everyone to go into, an internal conversation for you in meditation. But I right here was delighted to see that it was talking about the vegetable kingdom, the seed, the forest, and I'm just curious. Karen, you have a thought, and then Jim, and I'll come to Ken.
We're all made of the same stuff. And it all has purpose, and it all in its structure is information in form, which is always communicating an idea.
Okay.
And so it to me, there is a aliveness in that expression. And so I would say, yeah, that's how I feel about it.
I'm coming to you, Jim, but in the next paragraph, it says desire in the seed is the greatest factor. So Jim, anything you want to add there?
Absolutely. I've got an example of that. In our old house up in Pennsylvania, we had been given 2 Easter flowers as a gift. In the spring, I went out and I put them in the yard. The following spring, I went out and there were large, tall plants that had grown about a little over 2.5 feet tall on one side, completely hiding that Easter flower. And on the other side, there were none. I watched those 2 plants. The one on the side that had nothing stopping it from reaching going through its stages, went through its stages, and it bloomed at about the normal of about 8 to 12 inches high. The other one, which had to go almost 3 feet to accomplish that goal, and it bloomed at the same time. That's desire in the seed to manifest and fulfill its purpose.
So I'll add to that, Jim. When I lived at my previous home in South Carolina, there were little bitty trees that were planted along our line property. So they were only a foot tall. And me and my wisdom of not thinking, my lack of wisdom of not thinking about farther out, I planted all kinds of flowers between them. I was so excited. And you're right. They both bloomed. And then all of a sudden, of course, the trees, as expected, because of the desire that's in the seed, skyrocketed, through 20 and 30 feet. And so my poor little flowers had to really struggle. And I watched as they would try to lean out in front so that they could share in the light. And it was one of those things that I was like, yep, that tree knew it was going to outwit it, and I missed it. I missed it. So Ken, page 518 is huge page, I thought. I have several things highlighted, but where would you like us to go on page 518? Because it is a big, big page.
Yeah, well, I like the first one. These lessons are leading up to the comprehension of the fact that the light of mind actually is all, and not else exists. And you are that light, and you eternally exist. And that is the reality. So let's go back to our projector, our film, right? We are not the film, nor are we the image on the screen, right? We know that's an illusion from a sequence of slides that are melted together, right?
And that's actually in this lesson, and just a little bit, it talks about that projector. You're leading us to where we're going there. Absolutely.
Good. Then this will help us to understand a little more when we get there, right? So the power isn't in the film. The power isn't in the screen. The only power is in that still white light, because without that white light from that projector, the sequences cease to exist. That's the same way as if you said, if God stopped thinking, what would happen? The universe would cease to exist. That's what it's meant by it is a creating universe, not a created. If it was created, then it would continue to exist. It's creating. It's organic. It's alive, which is what you're talking about in the soul seed of anything. So let's go back to your acorn just to capitalize a little bit more on what the soul seed means and what's being referenced here. There's no microscope. There's no machine that can measure the soul pattern of a 40-foot tree in that acorn, right? Right in that acorn is not only a 40-foot tree above ground. Remember, equal in proportion is the root system below the ground. Most of us only see half a tree. But remember the root system, and now you see the whole tree. You know it's there, and therefore, that's what it's kind of like the world. Like, don't stop seeing half the world. Think about what's the piston creating that image, because it has to have two elements that make a whole. The root system and the above ground make a whole. The idea of that gigantic oak tree is in that seed. There's no way we can measure it. There's nothing we found that can identify, there it is. And so that's the desire for expression. It's also the desire for self-preservation. Every element, whether it's an atom or an oak tree, has a desire for expression and self-preservation. That is instinctual instinct.
To me, when I, as a new student, so I'm one of the newer ones, Karen has known the Russell work, and she's new to the home study course. I was a new student 3 years ago. This made huge sense to me to help me understand the difference between sensed and knowing. The sense is that I can hold it. It doesn't feel like I can hold a tree. It feels like it's just an acorn. I see that it's the pieces, can fall apart. I watch as the pieces start to grow in the forest. But so my senses tell me that this is simply an acorn. But my knowing, because of the science that I had been actually taught in school, know that there is an oak tree within the acorn. So to me, this was a lovely example. Every time I walk in nature and I see this, it reminds me of the difference between sensed and knowing. So may we all go into that knowing, capital KNOWING. So before we continue on this page, though, so I just want to go back again. It says, you are that light. So if everyone can place in the chat box, I am that light. I am.
And I know I am that light.
Well, it says you are that light. I am that light.
Right.
I am that light.
Many people walk in the dark because they don't know they're that light. It's about knowing it, right? It's about a relationship.
Okay, so it says in the highlighted blue section there, this is the great cosmic illusion. So Jim, if you would read the section, we'll scroll down. That's got the yellow brackets, please, and the sentence with the blue circle. If the creator
suddenly stopped thinking and imagining, this entire universe of matter would suddenly disappear. For all motion and from all mind imagined, and all bodies are but thought pictures of mind imaginings. The effect would be like the ending of a motion picture play, where all the physical effects cease when the creator of the play stops thinking them into form and motion. This universe is entirely spiritual. God alone is. Now, if you can read that last sentence and not understand, then if God alone is, who are you?
Well, and I want to encourage everybody to please, and I see the people putting the power of the I am statements. I'm completely with you. Can we all just jot down there in the chat box? This universe is entirely spiritual. Can we just imagine for a moment how the world would be different if everyone really understood that? This
Yeah.
universe is entirely spiritual.
We're
How would it
heading
be
that
different?
way.
Well, if you think about it, if you think of not just because a lot of people think of spiritual like spiritual, but it is the spirit that is expressed, the literal spirit that's within the seed. So
Okay, so I'm going to keep us going. Go ahead, Karen. Well, go ahead. So,
just a thought.
going along with that thought, Karen, because I want to get us to a certain place before the next break. That last paragraph, it says, the cosmic illusion, all bodies in the universe are but waves of motion, which in themselves are only seeming. There is no such thing as motion or substance. There is but illusion, which we sense as motion and substance. And so as the next page, it says, if this statement amazes you, it's because you do not yet comprehend God's lenses and mirrors of light by means of which he creates that illusion. So can Jim, if you can, describe what this box is, and I'm going to ask James if he can pull up that old video that he has, but this is the box that's here at the museum. And so describe this sentence, the God's lenses and mirrors of light.
Well, the lenses and mirrors of light that you see within that cubed box, it's a beautiful example of the illusion. The illusion within that box is infinity, infinite repetition beyond measure. Look at the number of stars and planets and solar systems that are flashing back at you. Yet you know that's nothing more than a mirror reflecting the one light that's coming through that little diamond. You know that.
Let's pause,
that's
Jim,
knowing.
because if I take off the light, all it is just
it's darkness. Yeah, it's only darkness because our eyes can't see that it is light. Our limited body eyes are limited in range. If we saw from the soul self, the desire self, the God self, we would see only light on or light off.
Wow. So I jokingly say that the home study course, if I had to describe it in only 4 words, turn your light on.
T-shirt.
Turn your light on. Okay. So before we go to break, on this next paragraph, it says, you fully understand that the illusion of motion, and this is where Ken was talking about, is the cinema picture. Now, Ken, I'm going to ask you to comment. Is the cinema picture is caused by a sequence of stills superimposed upon each other, each succeeding one being of a different pattern. If the patterns were all alike, there would be no illusion of motion. God's cinema changes patterns constantly because God's thinking changes constantly, but as changing only seems, likewise, motion only seems. Can you tell us more before we go to break?
Well, that goes back to what we were talking about, the one light, right? The projector, without that white light projecting, we have no movie. So all that motion on the screen only seems to be real. Let's say we took a movie, like, right, and all these CGI layers and superimposed. Think about how many are superimposed now. There's thousands of layers. Let's say we take a Captain America movie, we bring in a caveman, and we show him the movie. Well, he's going to think there's some people flying around on the screen, and they got superpowers, and he wouldn't think anything else, because to him, it's not an illusion, because he doesn't know, right? Like we know and have learned through series and live generations. So the caveman would think that it was really happening, and by God, we better get out of here. The world's coming to an end. But the reality of it is the same thing if you handed a caveman a watch. To most human beings, a watch is quite simple. But you hand a caveman a watch, and he would look at that and have no idea its purpose. So again, it's just part of that simplicity, seeming complex, but it's always simple. It's always that white light is what we're connecting to, and what we are. We are that white light. We're not the sequence imaging or the screen.
Well, and that's incredibly powerful. And I really want to highlight for everybody that last sentence. For those of you that have a home study course, I want you to bracket that sentence and do some meditation, because it says, if the patterns were all alike, there would be no illusion of motion. So that really stood out to me because I was like, so is that why we're all so different? If we were all the
100%.
same, it wouldn't, the cinema wouldn't be ongoing. So we're all
If all
different.
human beings, think about it, if all human beings looked the same and had the same color hair and color eyes, we wouldn't be able to tell each other apart, right? We would all look the same. And therefore, the fingerprint, every leaf is different. Every snowflake has a different imaging. Think of snow today, man. You should have seen all the flakes that I saw. I saw a lot of flakes. And each one of them is different and unique and beautiful in and of itself. The snowflakes that come from snow aren't like that Yamamoto crystallization of water when you crystallize water molecules. Those snowflakes are gorgeous because they come from nature and they come from love.
So one last thing, if we can go to the highlighted brackets, it says you and every moving thing in nature. So notice that nature is capitalized, and the Russells do this all the way throughout their work, capitalized. You and every moving thing in nature are walking constantly into a mirror of yourself. As you appear, you simultaneously disappear, but the secrets of it deceive your human senses by giving a feeling of continuity, which is not justified. So I'm going to lay it there right quick because we're coming back and we're going to be talking about this action of the avoidance principle. Big conversation coming soon. We are here halfway, a little over halfway through lesson 26. It is time for our 3-minute break. So stand up, get some oxygen. We'll see you in 3. Right, if you're within earshot. So I want to bring up Erin Mahin's comments. She has 2 comments up above, and I want to go to the one that says, "Love this." And she says this. She said, "Love this. Um, this universe is entirely spiritual. God alone is." And then she said, "Turn your light on!" Exclamation point. Yes, vote for a t-shirt. So speaking of t-shirts, want to mention to you all that we have two parameters that we need to meet in order to begin to offer you t-shirts. One is over 500 subscribers. We're up to 558 as of today. So let's celebrate. Big heart to you all. Thank you. And we have to reach 3,000 watch hours. So we need 600 more hours. So if any of you think, turn on our YouTube channel at night, maybe before you go to sleep, when you put your phone in your other room, and maybe we can all go to each other and help us get up to those watch hours so we can get those t-shirts. Also want to go to Deborah's comment. Deborah had something very interesting to say. Karen, if you would read Deborah's comment, please.
Stillness, darkness is a womb waiting to receive the light seed. New seed thought, so light may be birthed again and again. Nice.
All right. Love the interaction from you all. So a gracious thank you for that. Now we are getting ready to go into a really important section, and page 520 is massive. This was really difficult as the one who was kind of facilitating here, but there's a principle that we've got to land on the bottom of page 519 where I have it say the word key. So, all right. So Ken, if you could please read this one slowly, that is starred, because this is a really important resilient concept that me as a new student had a difficult time absorbing first time around. And so I'll ask Ken to comment and then Jim.
Yes. You want me to read the brackets?
I would know on the one where it says key, the underlined part where it says
every
key.
action is voided as it occurs, is repeated as it is voided, and is recorded as it is repeated. And that's another way of saying why everything is eternal. God's recording. So
go slow for me, Ken. So go slow. Every action is voided as it occurs. So that's step one.
Right.
It's repeated.
It's voided
as it
occurs, right? So that's the theory of for every action, there's a reaction. The reaction is simultaneous and equal in proportion to the action. So it voids it. So that's what wipes it out, right? You got compression, expansion. So as you compress, you're expanding. As you expand, you're compressed. So each is voiding the other. Then it's recorded in space, which we call space, which is God's recording system. And then it's played back in eternal repetitions inversed. Right? Inverse. I mean, the action becomes the reaction becomes the action, and that's how it becomes eternal. And that's how it becomes sequentially eternal. So whenever you do something, let's say Walter and Leo had many conversations. If we had the right condensing antennas, we could capture their conversations in their kitchen and listen to them to this day because it's still in the ethers. It still exists eternally. Right? So it's longer waves of audio, so they'll be harder to condense them and compress them. But we have that technology. We call them radio telescope. So we can capture an audio of a language, a conversation someone had 100 years ago and replay it today because that's what it means for it's voided, recorded, and repeated as it's voided.
All right. So that's a powerful thought. Karen and then Jim.
Just a quickie on that one is when we think of the word hologram, which is what we understand our universe to be as a hologram, translation means it's a system of light. And so when we look at what we do with our clocks and our computers, they're little crystals. So all light is condensed crystals. So out in the ether is a mirror of recorded light. So that's how it is. And in the Eastern tradition, it's called the Akashas. And our record of knowing it's the book of life, and also it's also known as the hologram. So it's not woo-woo. It's not. Okay. It's fact.
Okay, so, Jim.
Well, they're talking about the fulcrum here. If you picture the scales, no matter how much you move the scales back and forth, which can create the illusion of imbalance, they are always balanced at center at fulcrum. Nothing changes. There's an illusion of change, but nothing actually happened. And that which is recorded, what might seem as an imbalance, is recorded in the fulcrum as balance. It only becomes an imbalance when we focus our attention onto it.
So can we pause for just a moment, because all three of you just said pretty big things. So for people who haven't studied this before, those are three massive concepts. I mean, the thought that we could actually hear a conversation that was held 100 years ago because it's captured in the ethers. Karen talking about the holographic, Jim talking about the fact that the fulcrum had never moved. So these are huge. So for those of you that are new, just breathe through it, because this next page is pretty mind-blowing. So anytime your brain is getting in the way, and just relax and breathe through this, because page 520 I thought was incredibly powerful. So first, it's the end of the page 519 and 520. It says, all this can be summed up in the simple reminder of previous lessons that this seeming universe of many things, which seem to have countless changing moving forms, is a zero universe of rest, which never exceeds zero in any of its effects, but only seems to do so. So I wanted to pause for a moment. Was I correct in relating that back, Jim? Was I correct into relating that back to that formula that I have written above it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to remind everybody of that for just a moment, because this is really, really important. Is that I want to scroll down just a little bit, James, because I want you all to see that's part of, no, scroll down. I mean, scroll up, please. Sorry. Scroll up, meaning I want you to see right there, the numbers. So remember, we've been saying all this time, if you can read and count to 9, you will master the secrets of the universe. So this 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so I want you to look, I want to show you something that I texted somebody recently, and I wanted just to chuckle, because I was trying to emulate this whole idea of the 9, is where I had the four light burst, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the heart was the fulcrum, because the fulcrum is love. So I'm just saying that this was something that I had actually texted somebody, because I was trying to show that issue of what we're talking about here, because it goes on into this page. And then I'm going to bring up some things, and I'm going to ask the panel to comment. So where it's highlighted and yellow circled, the light of mind, light is capitalized and mind is capitalized, is the only reality. So let's go down to this bottom section, because this was huge. So breathe in with me, everybody, for those of you that don't know this. This idea is so beautifully expressed in the inspired words of our Father Mother's message. Notice how they refer to Father Mother, that we quote them here for your inspiration. Okay, this comes from the Divine Iliad, but look at it in parts here. Without thinking, my one idea could not become many one ideas for my stage setting. So write down in the chat box right now the word thinking, without thinking. Then it says, without motion, my cosmic play could not be played, nor could its actors be. So if you would, put in the chat box, motion. Okay? Then it goes on to say, without change, my undivided one idea, notice one idea is capitalized, could not unfold. Place in the chat box the word change. And without time, my drama of my creating, as Ken always tells us, creating universe could have no sequences. Without motion, time, change, and sequences, the unfolding of my mind imaginings could have no measured space. For its stage settings, no screen for its light projections. This is what Ken was talking about. Therefore,
now I would stop you right there for a second and just think of the movie theater, right? And the projector.
Scroll up, James. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that now you guys from the theater we talked about, I would go back to that same formula that we just read and think of a motion picture. And that's what you just read. It's a motion picture.
All right. So that's what I was trying to bring down. So scroll down where you see the big 4 words at the bottom, James. I'm trying to show that whole section. So, right. Okay. All together. Thinking, motion, change, time. What does the panel want to say about that?
I think
well, thinking begets motion, which begets the illusion of change, which is the illusion we call time. It's a wonderful, beautiful thing that we're experimenting here with. We're actually doing this. We're creating all of this, and the secret is to stay at center, in source, at the divine self to the best of your ability, and then as this motion picture transpires in front of you, you don't become stuck or attached to it. You don't look at something that may appear out of balance and then focus on that. Because when you hold that focus on that which appears out of balance, you become unbalanced in your body self.
Okay.
You see it in its entirety, and you understand that I am that zero center. I am not the expression body self that goes in and out.
It also invites you not to be part of the illusion. It invites you to become the observer.
It reminds you that you do want to, you are within the illusion, but it reminds me of that you are the puppeteer, not the puppet. And when you can do that, you become master of your own destiny. Holding truth and thought as done is the secret to light.
All right. So there was a question, Jim, earlier that said, and I can't remember who asked it. They said, what is the difference between intention and desire?
Well, intention is what you're trying to do, but that doesn't mean desire is the foundation of intention. But intention is that thing that you're trying to manifest. But you will only manifest it by holding desire on it and knowing it as done. So often we get weary and we go off the path of the thing that we're trying to manifest, and then we get angry at God, the universe, and the people and circumstances around us because we didn't get from point A to point B. We didn't get from point A to point B because we were not strong enough to hold that thought, knowing it would manifest.
Okay, so I want to bring back something that we had a discussion back a few sessions ago. When we remember we had that box that we took the smaller boxes and then we made them larger and larger and larger when we talked about bringing something into motion. So that's what you're describing. And so, Jim, I actually gave you credit during that session that I talked about how you said early on that we could not find there. We did not in any way need to ever miss a session, because you were saying that if we didn't build enough desire to keep it going, it would not take body form.
Momentum is paramount. Momentum is paramount to establishing that which you desire.
All right, so I want to bring up Deborah's comment right quick. So Deborah says this. Karen, if you'll share what Deborah has to say there.
I have it. I am the fulcrum, or is it this one? Thinking
in motion.
Thinking plus motion equals change, and all happens within the illusion of time. So true.
Thank you. And let's bring up Deb's comment.
Yeah, guys, the thinking, remember, is an illusion. Thinking is taking an idea apart, right? There is no energy in matter. The energy, science keeps trying to find energy in matter. The Higgs boson, the Hadron Collider. There is no energy in matter. The energy is in idea. The power of anything is only the idea. The idea never really manifests. It's only an illusion, a mirror of the idea that we represent. Whether it's Mozart's conceiving a concerto, it's not, that whenever you hear a great pianist or a great genius like that talk about the art, that they always say after they get done playing it, and people are like, oh my God, that's beautiful. They always say, you should have heard what I heard in my mind. Because remember, when you hear a song, even you sitting in the chair you're in, you hear it pitch perfect. There are no flaws in the sound in your head. You hear it pitch perfect. So you already are attuned to perfection, right? And thinking is an illusion, right? Knowing is what we're talking about, is that we can know something. We can't think something into form. Intention, right? How many people have you said hurt someone and say, well, I didn't intend to hurt you, but you did. Not that you intended, you still hurt someone. So intention doesn't create anything, right? Desire creates. Desire and inspiration create action, stimulate action, not intention. It doesn't stimulate action.
All right, we have 6 more pages to go to remind the panelists here. So I'm going to go to about the middle of page 521. And I want to go where I have the blue brackets. And so everybody breathe in with this one, because this one really hones in. The blue brackets say this: your body appeared from you. It appeared because you desired to manifest you. Now that's the ownership there. It appeared because you imagined it. God's body, nature, appears and disappears likewise. When you can knowingly say, I and my Father are one, you will then know that your mind imaginings are creating your own body in your own image. All right, so let me pause for just a moment there, because I don't know about everybody else, but when we think about this practically, I was pretty mad at myself when I found out about this. I was like, why in the heck did I decide to make myself 5'2"? Are you kidding me? Like, what was I thinking? I mean, so Jim, truly, when I because you got to remember, I was in the Southern Baptist world. I did not understand that we had created all this cinema. Okay, I had no concept of this. So here is me, someone who has recovered from an eating disorder of 30 years, that I have had this at war battle with my body, upset about my hearing impairment, upset that I'm 5'2" and short, makes me feel very, very vulnerable in this particular world. And I was so mad at myself when I said, "You mean I did this? What?" And as I've learned over the years, is that there was a reason for it.
Well,
it's a go ahead.
Remember, you have a pattern. Every seed in the oak comes from a pattern that existed before the oak. Just like every spider that's born instinctually knows how to build a web. It does not think, oh, I got to put this coil here, this coil there. It's instinctual. I mean, it's prior pattern. So now you go back into your lineage and your generations and lineages, and you realize you get a pod, a seed. The pattern must go with it. We don't, when we're reincarnated, we don't remember we're John Smith or Jane Doe. We remember how to eat. Remember, the patterning is survival, which is what everything is trying to become every other thing, and everything is also trying to self-preserve. It's innate. So we're born with a pattern. So that's when you get into lineage and stuff like that, when you start thinking about that kind of stuff, dear. You didn't create a 5'2" body.
Well, actually, Kimmy, I'm really glad you're short, because now I can meet you eye to eye.
Yeah. but what you will say, and what you have proven, is by when you were given your birthright, you now do create your body. Your body is in the image of how you feed it and create it now and exercise. So you say a 30-year person who's recovered from a food disorder. Well, you now realize that you've always had control of your body. Your body is sum total of your desires and the pattern of your thinking.
Well, I'm bringing all this up, so let me just pull up a couple of comments. Deborah, thank you. You made me feel good there. She said, good things come in small packages. So, Deborah, I learned later on.
I love your size. It like turns me on. So, you know, if you were taller, I might not be as excited. I don't know. So there you go.
I cannot believe he just said that. Terry says this.
Hey, it's
everything
a universe. We can mention sex without being perverted.
Everything happens for a reason. So I bring this up to everybody because I know I'm not the only woman or man who's ever had a battle with their body. What I did learn over time when I've had my different past life regressions, lots of my meditation, my downloads and meditation, is I actually chose a small stature because I wanted to be able to fill the room with light and not be dependent upon my physical vessel. So that was the lesson.
And I got a bunch of other fortune cookies you could throw in there too. Still patterned, dear. You still have a seed. The oak tree is going to unfold in the pattern that it's been patterned by the seed that you cannot measure or see. It's the prior patterning. That is part of it, my love.
All right, so we have 5 more pages. It's so hard to keep this going here. So I wanted to mention that it says so all of your creations, where it says discuss. So likewise, all of your creations are under your mind control. Okay, so I want to go down to where the green brackets are. It says, okay. Oh, wait a minute. I want to go back right about where the green highlight was. It says, to the extent that you know God's oneness with you, you can extend your balance to other minds and give them control over their bodies and the bodies they create. So I'd like everybody to put in the chat box, I can extend my balance. This was really, I thought, very powerful sentence, because that's really, if we all could find a way to bring ourselves back into balance more often, we would stop the ricocheting of ripples and the waves that are going throughout the universe. Is that a fair way to say it, Jim?
Yeah, that works for me. I'm good. Yeah, you're talking about healing. When you can extend your balance to others, you're talking about healing.
Yes.
And well, you know, so many of the masters throughout history have shown us that. But isn't it interesting that what they're talking about give them control over their bodies? When you extend your balance, if they believe what they're receiving, you give them control over it. You can't fix that body, but when they believe through your balance and your teaching that they can, it happens. So I just went through this with someone I love dearly. We tried everything we could to fix that body, but it was leaving. And I can only assume that something in her made that paramount.
So I want to bring this up because it talks about what does this knowledge mean to you under the green brackets. The purpose of revealing these unknown facts of nature to you is to free you from the bindings of matter so that you will know it for what it is and not what it seems to be, and control it instead of it controlling you. So on the next page, it says this: in previous lessons, we have stated that one single thought or emotion could upset the chemistry and polarity of your body so completely from being well, you could become very ill. You need no further proof than that to convince you that your body is a wave record of your thinking. Now, a couple of things I want to keep going before I ask the panel to comment as time is tight. Highlighted in yellow, it says this: the reason for this is because ecstasy is the continued normal, unchanging state of God's mind. And the more you can reflect that ecstasy, the more you can keep the vitality of your body at its maximum generative power.
Nice.
So let's pause for a minute. That moment, that ecstasy right now in humanity, we've talked about that more in a sexualized way. This is talking about the ecstasy of living.
I got a good one here for the chat box. Why don't you put in the chat box what you think ecstasy is?
Okay. Because I mean, to me, so while they're doing that, I wanted to continue here as we're wrapping up. It says, multiplied vitality through the manifestation of love brings with it the fullness of physical expression. Every deviation from a balanced expression of the love principle destroys bodies and the measure of that deviation. Violent anger, for example, can sow its deadly seeds of cancer in a perfectly healthy body. A complex expression of the love principle, which has in it the ecstasy of the light of mind, can destroy that seed. So what were you, Ken? Let's see if there were any answers here. Okay, Deborah says, my body is a reunion with pure divine bliss. My body is a wave record of my thinking. So
what's ecstasy?
Okay.
Ecstasy, the definition of ecstasy is to be exceedingly content and fulfilled. What it's helping us to understand, when we are one with God's mind, we are exceedingly content and fulfilled in that moment that we are one. When we are aware we're one, there comes a contentment, a fulfillment. Nothing else is needed. Sort of like love. When you love someone, love is never seeking to get something from someone. It only wants to give. Right? Same thing with your creator. It's the basis of creation is the desire to express love, and it must separate the whole concept into individual units to represent that. That's the fingerprint, that's the individuality, that's the leaves, all the things that are separate, but they all come from the one, right? They're all one. They just seem to be separate because of the illusions created.
So Bonnie has
let me just finish one more thing, because this is really important. It has been very important in my life. I have to realize, and all of you should realize, whoever's listening, you experience ecstasy all the time. If you love your kid, food, you love to shop, whatever it is you do, as long as it's not shopping on bad credit cards, right? But if you're doing things you love to do, you're exceedingly content and fulfilled. If you are exceedingly content and fulfilled, basically expressing love, you are one with God. You are in the God mind. That is the perpetual key word of the state of God's mind, if you want to know what that is. That's why love gets us there in meditation. Just tap into love and you will be in meditation, the love of your creator. But that means knowing that my creator's mind is exceedingly content and fulfilled. So therefore, when I'm experiencing that, I'm clearly one with that divine light inside of us.
Okay. So let's bring up Bonnie's comment. She says this. Jim, if you'll read Bonnie's comment, please.
I'm thinking that navigating life is all about balancing everything, thought, and bringing it into the thing you understand as love. Well, yes, I would build on that. If you want it in your life, dwell on it, give it a thought body, hold it in your attention. If you don't want it in your life, don't dwell on it. Don't give it a thought body. Don't focus your attention on it. It's that simple.
Nice.
All right, tying into that thought is on page 523, circled in blue. It says, conversely, any cynical or unkind attitude which does not express the love nature, go on down, James, the love nature of God, lowers the power of every cell in the body and increases its acid content to destructive percentage. So let's just pause for a moment here, because when this world encourages us to be negative, this is one of the things that I was very surprised about early in my life. And I know it had to be memories from wherever we came from. I couldn't believe how people made sport of tearing people down. It was like, this is what people love to do, is to tear people down. And very early in my life, I made a decision. We have only two choices: to build people up or to tear them down. And I used to say that to my daughter, always choose to build people up. It doesn't matter what happens, because I recognize that this is a sickness. It is a toxicity that has seeped into this universe that we seem to believe is normal, and it is not. And so I believe, entering into this cosmic age, part of the invitation for us all is to understand that these cynical and unkind attitudes that we have accepted as normal is anything but. So forgive me, I could go on a total soapbox for this, but this is a major, major issue for me. I am mortified at the number of people in the universe who express that, talking about that thought body, Jim, that express the energy of ripping people to shreds. And I've always felt this visceral reaction. And I really do believe it's because at a soul level, I've always known that when people are doing that, they're literally giving it a thought body.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm hearing you say.
That will return to them. Yeah.
So let's go to Karen Mahan's comment there. She was commenting there. And if I'm going to ask the group, if there's this panel, Karen, if you would please just read her comment.
I was just looking at the picture of Jesus, and in full ecstasy, I was explaining my inner joyousness at the moment of being here now. So exciting. Nice.
Love that. Ken, if you could, at the top of page 524, you are a big proponent of what this one talks about. If you can help us wrap up by that paragraph there at the top of page 524.
My screen is black. Is your guys? Okay.
No.
And I have not been hearing the audio. Okay, I just
if you have
came
to
up
sweep
now.
the floor.
Now it's up. If you have to sweep the floor, man, this is my motto right here. Do it gloriously. The floor must be swept. I put a little tab there because of course I had marked that one. If it falls to you to sweep it, do it perfectly with love, and it will bless you. A joyous attitude of mind from love giving out will prolong your date of maturing, that is refolding, lengthen your life, and make your thinking more brilliant and keen to the day of your passing. Joyousness is the great insulator from the toxins which arise from unbalanced thinking. To me, right, that joyousness is always getting back into the God state of mind. With state of mind, God's mind is a perpetual state of ecstasy. What generates that energy is the expression of love. That's what we're hearing. Do it joyously. That means I don't comply to anything anymore. I either do it wholeheartedly or don't do it at all. How many times did we hear that when we were growing up? Either do it right or don't do it at all. Well, that's that principle. That means either do it with love or don't do it at all. It's not worth doing. If you do it half measured, it'll have mediocrity stamped all over it. No one will be inspired by it. But if you do it with love, if you cook food with love, how many people you said, oh my God, that's delicious. What they're saying is not only is the combination of the elements that you made the food is delicious, but they're tasting the love that put the food together. Food cooked without love only feeds half a man. Food cooked with love feeds a whole man. That is in the Book of Love from Leah Russell.
All right. So let's bring up Deborah's comment as we're wrapping up here. Deborah says this. She said, and when we focus on being ripped to shreds, we are feeding that thought body. We mustn't take anything personally. Deborah was speaking my number. Dear heavens, Deborah, you and I are going to have to chat after the session. Totally get that. So I want to be mindful of where we are with everybody. I'm going to skip ahead over here to the bottom of page 527. Because these were the parting words. Remember, we cannot cover the entire lesson. We try the best we can, but at the bottom of page, okay, scroll up. It says, you will soon be amazed at your increasing mastery of the principles used by the Creator, capital C, and you yourself will unconsciously begin to think that way. All new knowledge comes slowly. Be patient and be masterful. Your own destiny is of too great import for you not to know that which you should know to control it. Read the following lesson. She's leading us into the next lesson 27 many times. You will find that it is as intellectually satisfying to become a master scientist as it is to become a master philosopher.
Honey, you read? Oh, I'm sorry.
You will find it equally satisfying from a practical viewpoint as well, for it will give you the wisdom of a sage as well as of an intellectual. That is well worth waiting. And so if you'll scroll down to the formula that I put,
Love, do me a favor. I'm sorry. Go to 526.
I will come to you in just a sec. It says science and philosophy, I guess, equals wisdom. And that is, in fact, why it is the University of Science and Philosophy. Ken, what were you wanting us to do?
I want you to go to 526, first paragraph, read the last sentence that's underlined there. And this is for everybody that's here, so you realize that if you are here and you have been attending these podcasts and studying them, you are that 1%. You are that 0.1% that's carrying the light of this world. So know how much this is next level, higher end stuff that most people just aren't going to get. That's why we keep telling you, be patient. It will all sink in as it's supposed to. But know who you are. Can you read that?
Go ahead and read the one that you're wanting.
Honey, I can't. Unless I put my glasses on.
Okay, I can't hear which. So Jim, read where he's telling you. I can't hear which one.
That is why I got it. And that is why you who are ready for the message are the seed to sow it in the hearts of legions of men and women, so that they in turn will bring it into being, the cosmic age of love. That's who our audience is. That's who we are. This is really hard to understand, and it takes next level enlightenment to be here. So know who you are. You are the cosmic age of love. If you're here, that's what I truly believe, because I don't think you're going to find anything more intellectually satisfying or heart satisfying on all levels than what you're reading right now, what we're studying.
So before we go into our visual journey that Karen pulled together for us, why don't we all type in the chat box, let's bring in the cosmic age of love. Let's bring in the cosmic age of love. And notice that cosmic is capitalized, age is capitalized, and love is capitalized. Let's bring in the cosmic age of love. And Karen, give us just a quick snapshot of what we're about to enjoy as we wrap up this broadcast.
This one is one we've probably seen in the very beginning of the whatever, but it was everything that we talked about. So this is a reminder that this is a movie, but there's a seed element within us, and it shows to me with that dandelion principle how it's all God. And the only other thing I want to say relative to that is the day the chemist will realize the same unbalanced condition. There's a sentence in there. We are a chemistry factory, and everything we say and do makes a difference within our internal body. We are 99% mind water at a molecular level. So everything we say and do, like Dr. Emoto's work with, makes an imprint, not just within our body, but everything that we emanate out. So it's important that we become the best we can be and shine that light.
All right, let's do it. And let's roll this lovely visual journey that Karen has gifted us. Wow. Wow. So it was this episode, that particular edition of Science to Sage that connected me with Karen. It was such a beautifully done rendition of nature and the Russell work. So I've asked Karen to please place in the chat box a link where you can download the PDF. So please take a look for that. James, if you'll come off mute for a moment before I offer the final comments. This visual journey that we just shared, this will be actually on the YouTube channel. When can our viewers expect it so they can meditate and rewatch that as many times as needed?
It's already up. I'll place a link to it on the YouTube channel.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So many powerful things in that one episode, Karen. A gracious thank you.
You're welcome. That was a beautiful one to do. And yeah, I just love all the reflections and things that show up when you're creating something, then the little magic. It's not like you think about it. It's being spontaneous, as you would say. Jim, working with it and letting it flow. Yeah. So
there were a few things that really brought us home. One was man has been so trained to look for God outside the realm of nature. That one really struck my heart because I remember people asking me all the time what church I went to. And I finally just started saying nature is my cathedral. Nature is my cathedral. I also wanted to pull out one of the sentences that had in there. It says, genius is the bridge between man and God. Therefore, that is why we are called Awaken Your Inner Genius, to be that bridge. And as we wrap up here, any final comments from the panel before I have my one final thought?
I love doing this stuff. It's like going to church in a sense, like we used to. It's kind of like cleans out the cobwebs. It gets you a new way of thinking. I think it's awesome. So I appreciate being here. I appreciate the invitation. So thank you all.
Wonderful. Any other comments from Jim?
Ditto what she said. I like that.
All right. Ken, last thought before I comment?
No, I'm good.
All right. So we want to say a gracious thank you to everyone for joining us again today. Can't thank you enough for being on the journey. For those of you that are there with us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, a gracious thank you. Know that we're going all the way through 12. So next week we'll be at lesson 27 for those of you that have your home study course. For those of you that don't, please know that we'll have the link there in the chat box. I do want to end with what was said there in the chat box, though. It says, let's bring in the cosmic age of love. And so may we set that intention this week. Let's bring in the cosmic age of love. And may we do that in fond memory of our beloved panelist, Jackie Porter. So sending much love to you all. May we continue and may we work to bring in this cosmic age of love. Until next time, everybody.